The auction that changed everything. Leila stood at the edge of the grand hall, her heart racing as she adjusted her modest dress. The lavish room, adorned with chandeliers and marble floors, was unlike anything she had ever seen. Yet she wasn't there to admire the opulence. This was her last resort. Her son, a man, was her world. But the mounting bills, the constant struggle to put food on the table, and the looming eviction had driven her to this desperate act, an auction where women's futures were bought by the wealthy. Tears threatened to fall, but she steadied herself. A man, safe with their elderly neighbor, deserved a better life. This was for him. When her name was called, Leila stepped onto the stage, the spotlight blinding her. The event organizer, with his polished charm, presented her as though she were a rare gem. Her stomach churned, but she stood tall, refusing to let her fear show. From the back of the hall, a voice rang out, deep and commanding. $1 million. The crowd stilled, murmurs spreading like ripples in water. All eyes turned toward a man seated in the shadows. He exuded power, his sharp features and confident demeanor cutting through the tension. Kareem Al-Fayed, a reclusive billionaire known for his wealth and enigmatic presence, had made his bid. The gavel struck. Sold. Leila's legs felt like jelly as she stepped off the stage. She hadn't realized she'd been holding her breath until Kareem approached her. His expression was unreadable, his gaze piercing. "We need to discuss the terms," he said, his voice even but firm. "The terms of the deal." In a private room, Kareem handed her a contract. The words blurred as Leila read them, her hands trembling. The main clause hit her like a blow. She was to bear his child, and once the baby was born, she would leave, severing all ties. Her voice cracked. "You want me to abandon my own child?" Kareem's gaze didn't waver. "I need an heir. This is a business arrangement. Nothing more." "This isn't a business," Leila shot back, her voice rising. "This is my life. My child's life." "I paid a fortune for this arrangement," Kareem said, his tone sharp. "You knew the terms when you entered." Tears brimmed in Leila's eyes. She thought of Aman's laughter, his tiny hands clutching hers. This wasn't just about money. It was about survival. With a shaking hand, she signed the contract. Her heart shattered as she did so, the weight of her choice pressing down on her like a stone. A life of contradictions. The following day, a limousine arrived to take Leila to Kareem's mansion. As she said goodbye to Aman, she forced a smile, promising to call often. He waved happily, unaware of the storm brewing in her heart. The mansion was a marvel of luxury, with sprawling gardens and intricate architecture. Yet, as Leila explored its halls, she felt a deep emptiness within its walls. Kareem himself was distant, his interactions with her limited to instructions and formalities. Days turned into weeks. Leila found solace in the garden, where she spent hours walking among the roses and fountains. Kareem, she noticed, often lingered there too, tending to a small, delicate plant. "That was my mother's favorite," he said one afternoon, catching her watching him. She said it symbolized resilience. For the first time, Leila glimpsed something deeper in him, a hint of vulnerability beneath his stoic exterior. Unexpected connections. As weeks passed, the dynamic between them began to shift. Kareem, once cold and unapproachable, started showing small acts of kindness. When Leila mentioned missing certain foods, they appeared at her next meal. Books she loved found their way to her bedside table. One evening, she wandered into the music room, drawn by the sound of a piano. She found Kareem there, his fingers dancing across the keys. "You play beautifully," she said, her voice soft. He looked up, startled. "My mother taught me," he admitted, closing the lid as if embarrassed. In that moment, Leila saw the man behind the billionaire, the boy who had lost his parents and carried their legacy like a heavy crown, a bond forged in pain. Over time, their conversations grew more personal. Leila shared stories of her struggles as a single mother, and Kareem listened, his usual stoicism replaced by genuine interest. One night, over tea in the library, Kareem asked, "If you could change one thing about your life, what would it be?" Leela hesitated. "I wouldn't have trusted so easily. But then, I wouldn't have a man." His name hung in the air, and Kareem's expression softened. "You're stronger than you realize," he said quietly. Leela began to see glimpses of a man who was more than his wealth and power, a man burdened by loneliness and a longing for connection. The revelation. As the months went by, Leela prepared for the inevitable. But one evening, Kareem asked her to join him in the garden. "I've been thinking," he began, his tone uncharacteristically hesitant. "This arrangement, it's not just about me anymore." "What do you mean?" Leela asked, her heart pounding. Kareem met her gaze. "I've seen how much you love a man. I can't ask you to give up another child. It wouldn't be right." Tears filled Leela's eyes. She had never expected him to understand, let alone care. "I don't want to just provide an heir," Kareem continued. "I want to build a family. A real one. If you're willing, I'd like you to stay. A new beginning." For the first time, Leela felt hope. She saw in Kareem not just a man of wealth, but someone willing to grow, to heal, and to create something meaningful. Together, they began to rebuild their lives, not as strangers bound by a contract, but as partners forging a future grounded in understanding and respect. Leela's journey had begun in desperation, but it had led her to a place she never imagined, a home where love and resilience could bloom. The layers beneath. Weeks turned into months, and Leela's life in Kareem's mansion began to take on a rhythm. Though she tried to maintain her emotional distance, the small cracks in Kareem's stoic armor began to intrigue her. Every now and then, he would do something unexpected, leaving her wondering about the man behind the title. One evening, after another quiet dinner, Kareem surprised her with an invitation. "I have a business trip in Marrakesh," he said, his voice calm yet almost uncertain. "You're welcome to join me if you'd like. It's only a few days." Leela hesitated. The idea of traveling with him felt daunting, but something in his tone suggested that he wasn't just being polite. He wanted her there. "All right," she replied, her voice steady but her heart racing. A glimpse of freedom. The private jet was a world unto itself, sleek, luxurious, and eerily quiet. Leela sat by the window, staring at the clouds as they soared above them. Kareem, seated across from her, was engrossed in a stack of documents, his brow furrowed in concentration. "You work too much," Leela said, surprising herself with her boldness. Kareem looked up, his lips curving into the faintest smile. "Someone has to keep the world turning." Leela couldn't help but laugh. Even the world's busiest man needs a break. His expression softened. "Maybe you're right." Marrakesh was like stepping into another world. The vibrant streets, bustling markets, and warm colors of the city were a stark contrast to the sterile opulence of the mansion. For the first time in months, Leela felt a sense of freedom, and she couldn't help but smile as she explored the souks with Amira, who had accompanied them as a chaperone. Kareem, though busy with meetings, made time to join them for a stroll through the Jardin Majorelle. As they walked, he seemed lighter, his usual formality giving way to a quiet ease. "You seem happy here," he observed, watching Leela admire the cobalt blue structures and vibrant flora. "It's beautiful," she admitted. "It reminds me that the world is bigger than our struggles." Kareem nodded, his gaze distant. "I forget that sometimes." The turning point. Back at the mansion after their return, life resumed its usual pace, but something between them had shifted. Their conversations became longer, their silences more comfortable. One evening, as Leela sat in the garden reading, Kareem approached her with a small box in hand. "This belonged to my mother," he said, opening it to reveal an ornate silver bracelet. "She gave it to me before she passed. I want you to have it." Leela's breath caught in her throat. "Kareem, I can't. This is too precious." He shook his head. "You remind me of her. Not just your kindness, but your strength. She would have wanted you to have it. Tears welled in Leela's eyes as she accepted the bracelet, slipping it onto her wrist. In that moment, she realized that the man she had once viewed as cold and unfeeling was far more complicated than she'd imagined. A painful truth. As their bond deepened, Layla began to see a side of Karim that he rarely showed to anyone, a man shaped by loss and responsibility, carrying the weight of his family's legacy. One night, over tea in the library, he shared a story that left her speechless. "My parents died in a plane crash when I was 17, he began, his voice steady but filled with pain. I was the only child, and suddenly, everything fell on me. The businesses, the employees, the people who depended on us. It was overwhelming." Leela reached out, placing a comforting hand on his. "That's a lot for anyone to bear, let alone a teenager." Karim nodded, his gaze fixed on the table. "I built walls to survive. It was easier to focus on work than to deal with the grief." Leela understood more than she could say. She, too, had built walls to protect herself from a world that seemed intent on breaking her. The unspoken bond. Over time, Karim began to include Leela in more aspects of his life, from charity events to intimate dinners with trusted friends. She found herself drawn to his world, not because of its wealth, but because of the purpose behind it. Karim wasn't just a billionaire. He was a man who used his resources to build schools, fund hospitals, and support communities. Seeing this side of him made Leela question her initial assumptions. One day, as they walked through the garden, Leela found the courage to ask the question that had been weighing on her. "Why did you bid on me that night?" Karim stopped, his expression thoughtful. "At first, it was practical. I needed an heir, and I thought this was the easiest way. And now," he hesitated, his gaze meeting hers, "now, I see that you're more than what I bargained for. You've brought life into this house, into my life. I didn't expect that. A new kind of family." As the due date approached, Leela found herself torn between her growing connection to Karim and her desire to reunite with Aman. She had never intended to stay, but leaving now felt more complicated than she had imagined. One evening, Karim made a surprising proposal. "I want Aman to come here," he said, his tone firm. "He deserves to be with his mother. And if you're willing, I'd like to be a part of his life too." Leela's heart swelled with emotion. "You mean that?" Karim nodded. "I've seen what kind of mother you are. A man is lucky to have you. And if he'll have me, I'd like to be there for him as well." The final choice. When Aman arrived at the mansion, his wide-eyed wonder brought a new energy to the house. Karim, who had once seemed so detached, took the boy under his wing, teaching him about the gardens, showing him the library, and even letting him play the grand piano. For Leela, seeing them together was bittersweet. She knew that her decision to stay would mean giving up her independence, but it would also mean giving Aman a future she had never dreamed possible. In the end, it wasn't just about the contract or the money. It was about building something real, something worth fighting for, a future forged together. As the months turned into years, Leela and Karim found themselves bound not by obligation but by love. Together, they created a home filled with laughter, resilience, and hope, a testament to the power of second chances and the courage to believe in the unexpected. Their journey hadn't been easy, but it had taught them both an invaluable lesson. Sometimes, the most unlikely paths lead to the most beautiful destinations. This shows that Leela and Karim redefining their lives, building a family rooted in mutual respect, love, and shared purpose. Their story is one of redemption, healing, and the transformative power of connection. The test of time. The mansion, once cold and unwelcoming, had transformed into a place of life and laughter. Aman's presence had brought a new energy, and Karim had surprised everyone with how quickly he adapted to being a father figure. Layla watched in awe as the man who once seemed so distant now knelt on the marble floors to help Aman build intricate Lego castles or read bedtime stories with his calm, steady voice. But even amidst this newfound happiness, shadows of the past lingered, and the road ahead was not without its challenges. The storm on the horizon. One afternoon, as Leela and Karim strolled through the garden, their quiet moment was interrupted by the sound of Karim's phone vibrating. He answered it, his expression shifting from calm to tense as the conversation unfolded. "I understand. I'll handle it," he said before hanging up abruptly. "What's wrong?" Leela asked, sensing the weight of the call. Karim hesitated, his jaw tightening. "A business deal in London. It's turning into a legal battle. I may need to leave for a few weeks to resolve it." Though Leela had grown accustomed to Karim's demanding schedule, the thought of him being gone for so long unsettled her. "We'll be fine here," she assured him, though the words felt hollow. Karim nodded but reached out to take her hand, something he rarely did. "I'll miss you and Aman. You've become my anchor, Leela." His admission caught her off guard. She squeezed his hand in return, realizing just how much he had come to mean to her as well. Challenges at home. While Karim was away, the days felt longer, and the mansion's warmth seemed to dim. Leila threw herself into caring for Aman and keeping their little world intact, but a sense of unease lingered. One evening, Amira approached her with a concerned look. "Miss Leela, I don't mean to alarm you, but there are whispers among the staff. Someone from Karim's business circle may be trying to sabotage him." Leela's heart sank. She had seen glimpses of the cutthroat world Karim operated in, but the thought of someone actively plotting against him was terrifying. "Do you know who it is?" Leela asked. Amira shook her head. "No, but I've noticed unfamiliar faces around the estate. Be cautious." Leela resolved to stay vigilant, her protective instincts kicking in. Karim had worked hard to build his empire, and she wouldn't let anyone destroy it, not when so much was at stake. The unexpected visitor. A few days later, as Leela and Aman played in the garden, a sleek black car pulled up to the mansion. A man in an expensive suit stepped out, his presence imposing. "Miss Leela," he said with a polite but insincere smile. "I'm Tarek. I work with Karim. May I have a word?" Leela felt a chill run down her spine but nodded, sending Aman inside with Amira. Tariq wasted no time. "I understand you've become quite close with Mr. Al-Fayed," he began, his tone laced with condescension. "But you should know, not everyone approves of his recent decisions." "What are you trying to say?" Leela asked, keeping her voice steady. "Karim's focus on you and your son has made him vulnerable," Tariq said bluntly. "His rivals are noticing. If you care for him, you'll convince him to step back from this distraction." Leela's hands clenched into fists. "My son and I are not distractions," she said firmly. "And if you truly cared about Karim's success, you wouldn't be here trying to undermine him." Tariq's smirk faltered, but he quickly recovered. "Consider this a warning, Miss Leela. Not everyone is as accepting as he is." As Tariq left, Leela stood frozen, her mind racing. She knew she needed to tell Karim, but she also realized how precarious their situation was. A reunion with questions. When Karim returned from London, he seemed more exhausted than ever. Layla greeted him warmly, but she couldn't hide her concern. "There's something you need to know," she said, recounting her encounter with Tariq. Karim listened intently, his expression darkening. "Tariq has been a thorn in my side for years," he said. "But for him to come here, to involve you and Aman, he's crossed a line." "What will you do?" Leela asked. Karim's jaw tightened. "I'll deal with him. But this only confirms what I've been thinking for some time. My priorities need to change." Leela frowned. "What do you mean?" "For years, I've poured everything into my business," Karim explained. "But now, I see what I've been missing. A family, a life beyond work. Tariq's actions only remind me how important it is to protect what really matters." Leela felt a surge of emotion. Karim's words weren't just a declaration. They were a promise. The proposal. A week later, Karim surprised Leela with an impromptu dinner in the garden. The table was set with candles and flowers, and the air was filled with the scent of jasmine. "This is beautiful," Leela said, her heart pounding as she sat down. Kareem, dressed in a crisp suit, seemed nervous, a rare sight. "Leela," he began, "when I first met you, I saw this as a transaction, a solution to a problem." Leela smiled faintly. "I remember. But you've shown me something I didn't expect," he continued. "You've shown me what it means to love, to trust, to build something real. And I don't want to lose that." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box, opening it to reveal a stunning diamond ring. "Leela, will you marry me?" Tears streamed down Leela's face as she nodded. "Yes," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. A new chapter. Their wedding was a private affair, attended only by close friends and family. Aman stood proudly by their side, beaming as Kareem officially became his father. As they exchanged vows, Leela felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in years. The road that had brought her here had been anything but easy, but it had led her to a place of love, resilience, and hope. Together, they built a life that balanced Kareem's empire with their shared dreams. The mansion, once a symbol of isolation, became a home filled with laughter, warmth, and the promise of a brighter future. And through it all, Leela and Kareem remained each other's anchor, a reminder that even in the most unexpected circumstances, love and hope could bloom. It conveys the story with themes of resilience, trust, and the transformative power of love. Leela and Kareem's journey serves as a testament to the strength of human connection and the beauty of second chances. Building bridges. The days after Leela and Kareem's wedding were filled with an intoxicating mix of joy and new beginnings. Aman, now officially part of Kareem's life, reveled in the attention and love of his new family. For Leela, the happiness of seeing her son flourish was almost enough to overshadow the uncertainties that lingered in the corners of her mind. Though the marriage had brought Kareem and Leela closer, it also introduced new pressures. Kareem's world was still one of high stakes and relentless demands, and Leela found herself stepping into a role she had never anticipated, being the wife of a billionaire and a figure in a world she barely understood. A mother's dilemma. While Kareem juggled his responsibilities at work, Leela focused on creating a stable home for their growing family. Yet, the weight of her past choices hung over her like a shadow. She often wondered if she could ever truly fit into Kareem's life, a world of luxury, privilege, and relentless scrutiny. One morning, as she sipped tea in the garden, Amira approached her with an envelope in hand. "This came for you," Amira said, her tone cautious. Leela opened the envelope to find a letter from a woman named Sahar, a journalist. The letter was polite but probing, asking for an interview about Lila's journey from the auction to becoming Kareem Al-Faid's wife. Leela's stomach churned. She had worked so hard to leave that chapter of her life behind, but the world seemed unwilling to let her forget it. When she showed the letter to Kareem that evening, his reaction was swift. "You don't owe anyone an explanation," he said firmly. "You've done nothing wrong, Lila. You don't have to let them dig into your past." But Leela wasn't so sure. "If I don't tell my story, they'll twist it into something it's not," she said. "I don't want a man to grow up hearing lies about his mother." Kareem considered her words, his jaw tightening. "Then we do it on your terms. I'll make sure of it." The interview. With Kareem's support, Leela agreed to meet Sahar. The interview was held in the library of the mansion, with Kareem nearby to ensure everything went smoothly. Sahar, a sharp but respectful woman, began with a question that made Leela's heart race. "You've been through an extraordinary journey, Mrs. Al-Faid. What gave you the strength to keep going?" Leela took a deep breath. "My son," she said simply. "Every decision I've made was to give him a better life. Even when it meant making sacrifices I never imagined, I knew I couldn't give up." The interview continued, with Leela carefully navigating questions about the auction, her life with Kareem, and the challenges of blending two very different worlds. When Sahar asked about her relationship with Kareem, Leela smiled. At first, we were strangers bound by an agreement. But over time, I saw the man behind the wealth and power, a man who carries as much pain and responsibility as I do. We've both had to learn how to trust and let our walls down." The interview ended on a hopeful note, with Sahar thanking Leela for her honesty. "You'll inspire a lot of people with your story," she said. Unforeseen challenges. The interview, though cathartic, brought unintended consequences. Within days of its publication, media outlets and social media buzzed with opinions, some supportive, others harsh and judgmental. Leela tried to shield Aman from the noise, but the scrutiny began to take its toll. At school, Aman faced teasing from classmates whose parents had read the headlines. Lila's heart broke when he came home one day, tears streaming down his face. "Why are people saying bad things about you?" he asked, his voice trembling. Leela knelt down, holding his small hands. "Sometimes people don't understand, Aman. But what matters is that we know the truth. We're a family, and nothing can change that." Kareem, furious at how the media frenzy had affected Aman, took action. He tightened security around the mansion, limited public appearances, and released a statement defending Leila's integrity. "We'll weather this," he promised her one evening as they sat together in the garden. "We've faced worse, and we'll come out stronger." A new dream. Despite the challenges, Leila began to find her footing in Kareem's world. She became involved in his charitable foundation, focusing on causes close to her heart, such as supporting single mothers and providing education for children in underprivileged communities. Her efforts didn't go unnoticed. At a gala hosted by the foundation, Leila gave a heartfelt speech about her journey and her vision for the future. "We all have struggles, but those struggles don't define us," she said, her voice steady. "What defines us is how we rise above them and how we help others do the same." The audience erupted in applause, and Kareem looked at her with pride. The miracle of growth. Months later, the family received unexpected news. Lila was pregnant. The revelation brought joy but also fear. She couldn't help but remember the terms of the original contract, the one that had brought her into Kareem's life in the first place. When she voiced her concerns, Kareem took her hands in his. "That contract means nothing now," he said firmly. "This child is ours, just like Aman. We're in this together." The pregnancy became a new chapter in their journey, one that brought them even closer. Kareem, once reserved and distant, became an attentive and caring partner, ensuring Leila felt supported every step of the way. The legacy they built. When their daughter was born, Kareem held her in his arms, his eyes glistening with tears. "She's perfect," he whispered, his voice filled with awe. Leila watched him, her heart full. In that moment, she realized how far they had come. From a transactional relationship to a partnership built on love, trust, and mutual respect. Together, they continued to build a life that balanced Kareem's responsibilities with their shared dreams. The mansion, once a symbol of isolation, became a home filled with laughter, love, and hope. And through it all, they remained each other's greatest source of strength, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the power of second chances. This concludes with themes of resilience, family, and the enduring power of love. Leila and Kareem's story serves as an inspiring reminder that even in the face of adversity, it's possible to create a life filled with purpose and joy. Strength and unity. Years had passed, and the Al Fayed household thrived with life, love, and purpose. Kareem and Leila's daughter, Yasmin, had grown into a spirited toddler who brought joy to everyone she met. Aman, now a teenager, had blossomed under Kareem's guidance, excelling in school and showing signs of becoming a thoughtful, compassionate young man. But as their family grew stronger, so did the pressures from the outside world. Kareem's business empire faced mounting challenges, and Leila, now a public figure in her own right, found herself navigating the complexities of balancing motherhood, philanthropy, and media scrutiny. A rift emerges. Kareem's work had always been demanding, but the stakes were higher than ever. A series of international mergers had consumed his time and energy, leaving him distant and preoccupied. Layla, feeling the strain, found herself managing the household alone more often than not. One evening, after Yasmin had been put to bed and Aman was busy with homework, Leela confronted Karim as he returned from another late-night meeting. "You're hardly here anymore," she said, her voice calm but tinged with sadness. Karim sighed, loosening his tie. "I'm doing this for us, Leela. For the children's future." "They don't need more money, Karim," she replied. "They need you. We need you." Karim looked at her, his expression softening. "I didn't realize how much I've been missing," he admitted. "But this deal, it's the last big hurdle. After this, I'll be able to step back." Leela wanted to believe him, but a part of her worried that Karim's relentless pursuit of success would always pull him away. Finding a shared purpose, determined to bridge the growing gap between them, Leela proposed an idea. "Why don't we work together?" she suggested one evening as they sat in the garden. "Your foundation has the resources, and I have the vision. We could create something meaningful as a family." Karim raised an eyebrow. "What do you have in mind?" Leela's face lit up. "A global initiative for single mothers. We could provide them with resources, education, and opportunities to build better lives for their families. It's something I know firsthand, and it aligns with the work you've already started." Karim leaned back, considering her words. "It's ambitious," he said finally, "but I think it's exactly what we need." The Al-Fade Initiative. The launch of the Al-Fade Initiative for families marked a new chapter for Karim and Leela. Together, they traveled to communities around the world, meeting women and children whose struggles mirrored Lila's own past. At the initiative's first major event, Leela stood before a crowd of hundreds, sharing her story once more, not as a tale of scandal, but as a beacon of hope. "We all face moments where we feel trapped, powerless, and unseen," she said, her voice steady and heartfelt. "But those moments don't define us. What defines us is our ability to rise, to rebuild, and to reach for something better, not just for ourselves, but for those we love." The audience erupted in applause, and Leela caught Karim's gaze from the side of the stage. He nodded, pride evident in his expression. Family ties tested. Despite their shared success, life at home wasn't without its challenges. Aman, now navigating the complexities of adolescence, began to push boundaries. Though he admired Karim deeply, he struggled with the pressure of living up to the expectations that came with being part of the Al-Fade legacy. One evening, after an argument over Aman's declining grades, Karim sought Layla's counsel. "I don't know how to reach him," Karim admitted, frustration evident in his voice. Leela placed a reassuring hand on his arm. "He's a teenager, Karim. He's figuring out who he is. Give him time, but don't stop showing him you care." Taking her advice, Karim made a conscious effort to connect with Aman. He took him on weekend trips, taught him about the business, and most importantly, listened. Slowly, their bond strengthened, and Aman began to thrive once more. An unforeseen crisis. Just as life seemed to settle, the family faced an unexpected challenge. Yasmin, now 5 years old, fell ill with a rare autoimmune condition. The diagnosis shook Leela and Karim to their core, forcing them to confront their worst fears as parents. Karim, who had always been calm under pressure, found himself unraveling. "I can't lose her," he said one night, his voice breaking. "You won't," Layla said firmly, taking his hand. "We'll fight this together, like we always do." The months that followed were grueling, filled with hospital visits, sleepless nights, and moments of unbearable uncertainty. But through it all, the family's bond only grew stronger. Aman stepped up to care for Yasmin, in ways that showed a maturity beyond his years, and Karim and Leela leaned on each other more than ever. When Yasmin finally entered remission, the relief was overwhelming. The ordeal had tested them in ways they never imagined, but it also reminded them of what truly mattered: a legacy of love. As the years passed, the Al-Fade family continued to grow. not just in size, but in impact. The initiative expanded to dozens of countries, transforming the lives of countless families. Leela, now a respected figure in philanthropy, often reflected on how far she had come. From the young woman who had walked onto that auction stage with nothing but fear and desperation, she had become a woman of strength, purpose, and love. Kareem, too, found a balance he had never known before. He stepped back from the day-to-day grind of his business, dedicating more time to his family and the causes they cared about. One evening, as the family gathered on the balcony of their mansion, watching the sunset, Kareem turned to Leela. "You were right," he said, his voice soft. "All the money, all the power, it means nothing without this." Leela smiled, resting her head on his shoulder. "We built this together, Kareem. And it's only the beginning. A life well lived." In the years to come, the Al-Fades would be remembered not just for their wealth, but for the lives they touched and the love they shared. Their story became a testament to the power of resilience, the importance of family, and the beauty of second chances. Through their challenges and triumphs, they proved that no matter where you start, it's possible to build a life filled with meaning, hope, and love. And as the sun set over their home, their laughter echoed into the night, a reminder that even the most unlikely journeys can lead to the most extraordinary destinations. This concludes the story with themes of perseverance, family unity, and the enduring legacy of love and kindness. It showcases the Al-Fades as a family that not only overcame their past, but also used it to inspire and uplift others. A legacy beyond time. The Al-Fade estate, once a mansion that symbolized power and solitude, had become a beacon of warmth and connection. Laughter echoed through its halls, and the gardens bloomed with life, a testament to the family's journey. Kareem and Leela had built not only a home but a legacy, a foundation that transcended wealth and power, rooted in love and compassion. But as their children grew and the world around them evolved, new challenges emerged, forcing the family to confront their past, embrace the present, and shape the future. A man's crossroads. A man, now in his early 20s, stood at the precipice of adulthood. With a sharp intellect and a heart shaped by his mother's resilience and Kareem's wisdom, he had the world at his feet. Yet, the weight of carrying the Al-Fade name often left him conflicted. One evening, Aman approached his father in the library, where Kareem was reviewing plans for the expansion of their family initiative. "Father," Aman began, hesitating, "I need to talk to you about my future." Kareem looked up, setting his papers aside. "Of course, Aman. What's on your mind?" "I know everyone expects me to take over the business someday," Aman said, "but I'm not sure if that's what I want. I want to make my own mark, in my own way." Kareem's expression softened. "Aman, I've never wanted you to feel trapped by expectations. Your path is your own to choose. If you want to forge a new one, I'll support you." Aman's eyes widened. "You mean that?" "I do," Kareem said, placing a hand on his son's shoulder. "The greatest legacy you can leave isn't in following my footsteps. It's in walking your own journey with integrity." Yasmin's dream. Meanwhile, Yasmin, now a precocious teenager, had inherited her parents' compassion and determination. She had grown up watching Leela's work with single mothers and Kareem's business acumen, and she was eager to find her place in the family story. One evening, as the family gathered for dinner, Yasmin announced her plan. "I want to start a scholarship program," she said, her voice steady. "For kids like the ones I met during our last trip. Kids who have big dreams, but no way to achieve them." Leela beamed with pride. "That's a beautiful idea, Yasmin. What inspired you?" Yasmin shrugged, her cheeks flushing. "I guess I've always felt lucky to have this family, this life. I want to give others a chance to dream too." Kareem smiled, his heart swelling with admiration. "You've inherited the best parts of your mother," he said. "And you," Leela added, reaching for his hand. A return to the past. As the Al-Fades continued to shape their legacy, Leela found herself drawn back to her roots. One day, she proposed an idea to Kareem. "I want to visit the village where I grew up," she said. "I want to show Aman and Yasmin where it all started." Kareem nodded, understanding the significance of her request. "We'll go together." The journey to Layla's village was both emotional and transformative. Walking through the familiar streets, Layla was struck by how much had changed and how much hadn't. She visited the modest house where she had once lived, now occupied by another family, and shared stories of her childhood with Aman and Yasmin. "This is where I learned what it means to fight for a better life," Layla told them. "No matter where you come from, you can always rise above your circumstances." As they left the village, Layla felt a renewed sense of purpose. She realized that her journey wasn't just about moving forward, it was also about honoring where she had come from. An unexpected reunion. During their visit, Layla encountered someone she hadn't seen in years, Fatima, her childhood friend. The two women embraced, tears streaming down their faces. "Layla, you've done so much," Fatima said, her voice filled with awe. "I always knew you were destined for great things." "And you?" Layla asked. "How have you been?" Fatima smiled, though it didn't reach her eyes. "Life has been hard, but I've managed." Moved by her friend's story, Layla offered her a position within the Al-Fayed initiative. "You've always had a heart for helping others," she said. "Join me, and we'll do it together." Fatima accepted, and their reunion marked the beginning of a powerful partnership that would change countless lives. The Al-Fayed legacy expands. Back at the estate, Kareem proposed a bold new vision for their family initiative, a global network of resource centers providing education, healthcare, and job training for underserved communities. "This isn't just about charity," Kareem said during a family meeting. "It's about creating opportunities for people to stand on their own and build their futures." Layla nodded, her eyes shining with pride. "We've come so far, but there's still so much more we can do." Aman and Yasmin both pledged their support, eager to contribute to their family's mission in their own unique ways. A celebration of love and purpose. Years later, the Al-Fayed family gathered for a grand celebration, marking the 20th anniversary of their initiative. The event was held in the mansion's gardens, now a lush paradise filled with blooming flowers and cascading fountains. As guests mingled, Layla took a moment to reflect. She looked at Kareem, Aman, Yasmin, and the many people whose lives had been touched by their work. "We've built something extraordinary," Kareem said, appearing beside her. "We have," Layla agreed, her voice filled with emotion. "But it's not just about what we've built. It's about the lives we've touched and the love we've shared along the way." As the evening drew to a close, Kareem raised a toast. "To family," he said, his voice steady and strong. "To resilience, love, and the legacy we leave behind." Layla smiled, her heart full. The journey that had begun with fear and desperation had transformed into a life of purpose and joy, a testament to the power of hope, love, and second chances. Part 6 concludes the Al-Fayed story with themes of legacy, family unity, and the enduring impact of compassion. It highlights how their journey has not only transformed their own lives, but also the lives of countless others, proving that the greatest wealth lies in the love and purpose we share. The eternal lesson. Years turned into decades, and the Al-Fayed family became a symbol of resilience, hope, and the transformative power of second chances. Their journey, marked by pain and triumph, hardship and love, became a story shared not just within their family, but throughout the world. Layla, now in her twilight years, sat in the garden where so many of their moments had unfolded. The roses bloomed brighter than ever, a testament to the care and love poured into them over the years. She watched as her grandchildren, Aman's twins and Yasmin's son, ran through the gardens, their laughter filling the air. Kareem, silver-haired but still as composed as ever, joined her on the bench. He took her hand in his, their fingers interlacing naturally. "Look at what we've built," Kareem said, his voice carrying both pride and wonder. Layla smiled. We didn't just build wealth or a legacy. We built something that lasts. A home, a family, and a purpose. Passing the torch. The Al-Fade initiative had grown far beyond their original vision, touching lives in ways Leela and Kareem could have only dreamed of. Schools, hospitals, and community centers bore their name. But it wasn't the buildings that mattered. It was the people whose lives had been changed. At a grand gathering to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the initiative, Aman and Yasmin took the stage to announce the next chapter. This work isn't just about continuing what our parents started, Aman said. It's about ensuring that their vision of compassion, of opportunity, lives on for generations to come. Yasmin added, "Our parents taught us that the greatest wealth isn't what you accumulate, but what you give. And that's the legacy we hope to continue." Leela and Kareem, seated in the audience, shared a quiet, tearful smile. The final reflection. As the years wore on, Kareem and Leela spent more time reflecting on their journey. One evening, as they watched the sun dip below the horizon from their balcony, Leela spoke softly. "Do you ever think about how it all began?" she asked. Kareem nodded. "All the time. It's strange to think that what started as a transaction became the most important part of my life." "And mine," Leela agreed. She looked at him, her eyes filled with gratitude. "You showed me that even when life seems impossible, there's always a way forward. And you showed me that love is the only thing that truly matters," Kareem said, his voice filled with emotion. "Without it, all the wealth in the world means nothing." The eternal lesson. When Leela and Kareem passed, their lives were celebrated not with sorrow, but with gratitude. They left behind not just a family, but a world that had been irrevocably changed by their love, compassion, and vision. The lesson they imparted was simple yet profound. Every life has value, every choice carries weight, and every heart has the capacity to change. Their story became a source of inspiration for countless others, proving that no matter where you start, or how broken the road may seem, it is always possible to create something beautiful. And as their grandchildren grew, they carried forward the values that had defined their family: love, resilience, and the courage to dream. In the end, the Al-Fade's greatest legacy wasn't their wealth, their influence, or even the initiatives they had created. It was the truth they had lived. That love is the foundation of every great story, and with it, anything is possible. This concludes the story. Thank you for watching until the end. I hope you found it enjoyable. If you did, please consider liking the video and sharing it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and activate the notification bell for more captivating stories. Have a great day.